Hello Space Engineers, Wellington6012 here, and welcome to episode number 10 of my tutorial series. How you doing? Hope you're good? Right, we'll just jump straight into it because, there's a fair bit to do, I feel. The main thing that I want to do today is upgrade our assembler and refinery. So these are basic versions, basic assembler, basic refinery, and we're going to upgrade to the advanced versions, although they're not called advanced. I think they used to be. Because there was a little bit of confusion about what they used to be called, but they are definitely now called, those are the basics, and we are moving to just the regular, which is advanced. Very confusing, but anyway. Let's go into the toolbar and load up the groups. So there is our refinery, and there is our assembler. So we have another chicken and egg decision here of which one we build first, whether we build the assembler first, which needs a bit of steel, quite a few computers, and some metal grids. So we would need cobalt to be able to actually build this, which we do have, which is fine. Then if we go to the refinery, we can see that it uses a lot of steel plate, 1200 steel plate. So yeah, as I say, chicken and egg situation of whether we build the refinery first in order to process materials quicker to get the iron, or whether we build the assembler first in order to process components quicker to be able to build the refinery. I have done some more drilling off camera with this drill arm and processing. We have plenty of iron, so we don't need the advanced refinery first. We have enough iron to do what we need to do, so we will go for the assembler first, which I think tends to be what I usually do first. Yeah, because it does just speed up the process of producing all that steel. And yeah, we've got two options available here. This is the sort of original vanilla one, and then there is also the industrial assembler. So this is part of the downloadable content pack, Heavy Industry. You do need to pay to get this particular block. The mainly cosmetic, the difference between this and the original one, although there is some difference with the access ports, which, yeah, I tend to use this one more than the original one because of the ports, plus aesthetically I think it looks better. But where the port positions are, yeah, it sort of works out. It is a bigger block though, so this is 1 by 2 by 2, whereas the original is just 2 by 2. So this is quite good if you're tucking it away somewhere and you're not actually interacting with it with your character. But this one, if you are interacting with it with your character, which I will be, it sort of works out better. So anyway, let's just put it in and we will weld it up. So we still need, no, we're just full, inventory full, so we'll just see what we need. You can see I've already placed some conveyors, so I have done a little bit of work off camera. Let's just grab the rest of the stuff and we'll put it in production, shift middle mouse, and then I'll put that into production. So yeah, we'll build this and then we'll put the refinery in, and then we'll go over, there are some modules that you can attach to these, so I'll talk about some of the benefits of this particular assembler over the basic one. So the sooner that we can actually upgrade to this, the better, that's for sure. So let's just keep building this, and yeah, hopefully those computers don't take too long. Right, that's got everything, and there we go. So we now have an industrial assembler. Fantastic. Right, so as I was sort of saying before, why I choose this one is because of the access ports, specifically this access port that doesn't get covered up. Because if we go back to this other style, you can see we've got the ports on either end, and they tend to get connected via the conveyors. And then we've also got access points on the side, but they tend to get covered up by modules that we can add to it, which again we'll talk about later. But so yeah, so that's why I tend to pick this one, is because of this access port here. Right, let's jump into it, and we'll look at what we can now produce. So looking compared to the other ones, the available blocks, components that we can make. So we've got, what, 8 there, we've got 16 there, and then here we have the full range. So it's only a few extra blocks, but quite important ones. The big thing though is going to be at this stage, the increase in speed of production. So it really is going to speed things up for us, which will be great. The other thing that's really useful, we'll talk about upgraded tools and weapons a little bit once we have some silver. But we've also got this functionality in here as well. So we can click on this column and we can actually produce stuff specifically for blocks. So for instance, if we go here into the large block, I want to make a refinery. So we could either sort of scroll down or we could search for it, refinery. And yeah, I want to make the components for one of these, and you can see what I need to actually make that. So I can just click on that and it's going to put all that stuff into production. So that is really quite a useful tool, especially when you're maybe producing a whole lot of stuff for a specific build, like I'm doing here. But it might be that I want to make half a dozen wind turbine towers. So I'd find the wind turbine, I'd produce 6 of those. I'd find my scaffolding blocks, I'd produce a whole lot of those. And I'd find, say, if I was doing a battery at the base of each one, I'd find the battery and do some of those. Great if I'm intending to actually build enough components to take away with me to another location to start a base. So it's just a good way that you don't necessarily need to forget things. But let's focus on doing this refinery next. We will need to connect it via some conveyors. But also what I'm going to do is, now that this assembler is kind of obsolete, I am going to, I think I'm going to empty it and disassemble it and use the parts instead. So basic assembler, we'll just grab those out of there, and then I'm just going to break it down, I think would be the way to go. Okay, so looking at our refineries, it's the same as the assembler. That we've got 2 variants. We've got the sort of original vanilla one, and then we've also got the heavy industry one as well. So the heavy industry one's got some stairs that you can go between levels, and definitely from an aesthetic perspective, quite an improvement. Again, just a slight difference to the ports. So we've got one on that side, and there's one on top as well. There is an access port sort of up in the middle there, similar to the one that's on the assembler. Whereas the original one, we've got pretty much the same, one on top, one on each side. There is also one on the bottom as well. So that's a little bit of a difference. Yeah, so it's not 100% aesthetic, the changes with the 2 variants, but yeah, certainly conveyor ports is one thing. So I'm actually going to go with the original one because I do want the conveyor port on the bottom just for how I'm deciding to build things. So let's post that in there, and yeah, we'll now do a whole lot of welding. So it's going to take a couple of inventory loads here. And yeah, you could, if you wanted, set up a block welder. That's something that I've done in the past, that it just sort of welds itself up as it goes on. So when I say a block welder, I'm talking about one of these. Just a little thing though, if you do that, then it won't be you that's building it. It will be the sort of base. And when it comes to progression, oh, we must just be short when I put those conveyors in. Let me build a couple of those. Actually, we'll do a whole lot ready for next time. You can see how much quicker it is to produce. Yeah, so when it comes to progression, because I'm not building it, because it's the block, I won't get the credit in the unlock, which I have struck before once upon a time in one of my scenarios, wondering why I couldn't unlock something. Which, here we go, we'll just weld all this up, chug, chug, chug. One of the first things I want to do is upgrade my tools. And nearly there. And there we go. And we've unlocked some new blocks. And we're also processing some stuff, which is that little bit of silver that we mined. So let's go and just check out what we've unlocked in progression. So by building that assembler, we've unlocked these things. And by there's also a gravity generator that we've unlocked, so that's useful. And the refinery has unlocked the reactors, so that's cool. Now we can actually process uranium, assuming we had any. We don't. We need to go into space for that, but we could actually fuel our reactors with it, so that's something for later on. Okay, so there we go. We've got our refinery and we've got our assembler, and so we can now process a whole lot of things a whole lot quicker. So what I might do is I'm just going to do, I think, one last go with this, and then I think I'll break it all down. So, because this is almost at its maximum, so we'll turn the drill on. Was that the right drill? I don't think it's the right drill. There's that button there, that'll turn it on. Yep. And the piston just needs to go out to its maximum, and then we can reverse the hinge. That's the hinge lock. Try that one. There we go. So now we'll just see once that gets going how much this keeps up with it, which, I mean, the basic refinery is actually in the business at the moment, so how about we turn that off, shall we? Basic refinery. Can't get rid of it because it's in the... Still filling up. Okay, now that's filling. Okay, cool. Because you do get better yield rates out of this, so we will get more iron and other resources per kilo of stone versus the refinery. So again, not just the speed, we're also upgrading, I guess, the quality of the stuff that's coming out of it. Right, jump into here, and yeah, going back into production, we have options such as more equipment. We've got all the ammos that's available to us, full range of weapons, and then tools. Okay, so now we can do the proficient hand drill because we've got silver available to us, and we can also do the proficient welder, and I think I bought a proficient grinder. So in order to get up to elite, I'm going to need platinum, and going to need platinum. Okay. And platinum is up in space or on the moon, or a moon, whether it's Europa or our moon, or Titan. Yeah. Okay, so that's cool. Let's grab those, and we will put those in there. We can recycle them. So again, same, we've got the option there to disassemble, which is useful. And yeah, let's just see how this is going. So that's keeping up with the stone, really. Yeah, so we haven't got an influx of stone, which is good. Okay, so leave this with me for a little bit, and yeah, I think we will just let this complete its thing and complete its sweep, and then I'll break it all down, and I think I'll just get rid of this refinery and just sort of tidy things up a bit, and then we'll come back into it and we'll put some efficiency modules on these, and we'll go through that. Okay, so that's all broken down, and I've done some other bits and pieces. Can always put the drill arm back in if I need it, but I feel like I'm sort of done with it for now. I've also got rid of the basic refinery. Now we've got this one, there's not really a reason to keep the old one. It's kind of just getting in the way. The basic assembler that I already got rid of, sometimes there is an argument to keep that. If you really need to build a whole lot of stuff, some extra steel or something, it does provide you a little bit of extra capacity, but for this series, I feel like I don't need it, so we'll just got rid of it. Okay, let's move on to the efficiency modules and have a bit of a chat about those. So I'll put them on the toolbar first of all. There they are. Put them in where the refinery was. So I'm just going to try and go through these briefly and give a bit of a basic understanding. I'm thinking that I will actually do a separate episode on these and the difference practically between the three types, because we've got speed module, we've got a yield module, and a power efficiency module. So yeah, I'll probably do, as I say, a separate episode. I've been thinking about doing one for a while, just comparing them, what it actually means, because yeah, it's sometimes hard to decide which ones are the best to use in a particular situation. So yeah, so hopefully I won't confuse you. Apologies if I do. There is other resources on the internet as well if you want to go into it a bit more in depth. But yeah, let's go. So I've already mentioned we've got these access ports that, well, they're like access ports, but they're just module ports. So they're kind of like a conveyor, but they're not a conveyor. You can't do anything with them. So if we go into the assembler, the original vanilla one, you can see that we've got a module port up the top, and we've also got one down the bottom, which there is also a conveyor access port. So this assembler can take 4 modules, bearing in mind that 2 of them are going to cover up the access ports. And yet there are 2 other access ports, conveyor ports at either end. Same with this one, but what you'll find is that, well, what I find, more often than not, you actually have conveyors plugged into both sides. So even though you'd have those access ports available, generally speaking, in my experience, they're actually covered up. That's why this one's quite good, because you've still got that access. Whereas with the other one, if you're burying the assembler all in the ship and you're never actually intending to directly go into it and you're just going to operate it through an interface somewhere else, then it's fine. It's neither here nor there. But yeah, so that's got 4 ports, 4 module slots. This also has 4, so there's one underneath that we just can't quite see. We've got the 2 on the back and 2 on the top, 1 on the top, so it can take 4 modules. So there's 8 ports for 4 modules, 2 slots per module. Right, said it was going to be confusing. Let's now jump into, I think, creative mode, and then I can just paste some on and show you sort of the differences. So the refineries, both of the refineries are the same. They can take 4 modules on the back, and yeah, as long as they're both connected, yeah, you can put them up that way or around the other way. If you had them like that, then they'd only be half as efficient because they'd be sticking out. So there's really no point in that. So first of all, we will look at the, I think, the power module. So the power module we can use on either the refinery or the assembler. So now if we go into here, we can see with the control panel that with our power efficiency module, we've got 150% efficiency. Okay, so it's going to save us a bit of power. If we go into the assembler, and we can see that this is also 150% efficiency. So if we were to put another couple of those on, or even filled it up completely, then we are getting to 500% power efficiency. So it's stacked, basically. So do we need power efficiency modules? I have very seldom used them, and very seldom have I seen anybody else use them. Now the reason for that is because in the Space Engineers game, power is not really a problem, generally speaking. There is normally lots of power. So first of all, if we're down here on a planet with wind turbines, you can just build more wind turbines, and power is not an issue. Here in my base, we have a whole lake full of ice. I could get some quite efficient engines going, hydrogen engines. Power would not be an issue. We've also got solar as well, which if I build a big enough array and had enough batteries, probably wouldn't be too much of a problem. Potentially, yeah, if I was operating off solar, maybe power might be a consideration. Up in space, if you've got access to reactors and uranium, again, power is not really an issue. Solar, you could build a big solar array, which isn't too much of a hassle up in space. So very rarely is power an issue, unless you're playing a modded game where the wind turbines don't work or something like that. So in my experience, power is not a problem, so generally I don't need to use the power efficiency modules. So then we have, let's just get rid of those. Then we have the speed modules. So the speed, I'll put one on there and one on there. So if we look in here, the speed is going to increase it by, well, it's 100%, it's doubled it. It already started off at 130%, now it's up to 230. So putting one speed module on, which, they're not super expensive to build, is basically the same as building a second refinery. And it's the same with the assembler. If we go into here, control, and you can see it's doubled the efficiency of the speed. So, if we put another 3 to make it 4, same with this, it's going to be like putting another 4 assemblers and another 4 refineries. Now, it does cost you more power, so with the increase in capacity and speed, you also increase the power. So maybe you might want to do a mix, sort of half speed, half power, and that would kind of offset one another. So that's an option as well. But generally speed is the way to go, especially for assemblers, because when you need stuff, you need it, and yeah, it's quite good to have the speed modules. Now on the refinery, we do have another option. We've got the yield module. Now this is not so black and white whether you would pick yield over speed. It only works on the refinery. It does not work on the assembler, because with the assembler you have a certain amount of ingots in and you get the components out. There's a recipe. Whereas for the refinery, you put a certain amount of ore in, and depending on whether you've got, or depending on what type of refinery you've got, because whether it's a basic refinery or this refinery, that's why it was 130%, is because it's more efficient, produces more yield than the basic refinery. But we can put these yield modules on and get even more ingots per kilo of ore. Now, if it's a basic sort of ore, for instance stone, or iron, or silicon and nickel, then you'd be better off with speed, because generally those are not rare, that you can get big deposits and they're pretty common. So that's where it's going to be better to probably get better mining capacity, whether that's a drill ship or whether that's a drill arm, and have it process more, and that would be a way to actually get as much as you need. The benefit of putting a yield module on is probably only going to be, and this is written on the internet, and this is probably what I'll work out during my episode on these modules, but it's only like 5% or something. It's a minimal advantage to using the yield module, whereas if you just use a speed module and got ore. Hello Space Engineers, Future Wellington 6012 here, just with a quick message from the future. I have done the efficiency module comparison episode. It's going to publish about 3 or 4 days after this episode publishes, so keep an eye out for that. It will be linked at the end of this episode once it does actually release. But my friend in the red suit over there is talking about the different yields of different ores, and he's getting all muddled up because he's read something wrong on the internet. So the different ore types do have different yields, but the efficiency module, the yield module, just increases that a percentage. It makes no difference what type of ore it is as to how much it increases it, apart from what the base is of that ore. So it's a little bit confusing, but things get cleared up quite a bit in the comparison video later on, so I encourage you to watch that, and yeah, try not to listen too hard to what that man in the red suit is saying. Yes, over. Oh, it's that way. But it's only like 5% or something. It's a minimal advantage to using the yield module, whereas if you just use a speed module and got more ore, then you would get twice as much. Okay, so it's not really beneficial for those basic ores. Same with magnesium, same with cobalt. Yeah, if you've got a good supply of them, then you're probably better off with the speed and just process more of it. Unless, for instance, you were purchasing your ores. Maybe you were doing an economy playthrough and you're actually purchasing them from a mining merchant. Then, yeah, if they're basically rare, then you might want to make the most of what you've got and actually use yield modules. The thing with yield modules is that you do actually need superconductors to build them, and to make superconductors you need gold. So we can't build any at the moment because we don't have gold, but now we've got the refinery we can find gold. So in my experience, I have used them for the higher end things where you get a higher percentage back, and the ores, that is, where they can also be a little bit trickier to get hold of. So for instance, if I was refining gold, I tend to put some yield modules on because you get more gold ingots per kilo of gold ore. And sometimes it can be a little bit tricky to get gold because it can be quite a thin seam, and yeah, it takes a bit of effort to get it. The uranium is another one, or platinum. I tend to use speed modules if I'm up in space at a space station because I can just fly out and get more. Whereas if I was transporting it from space back down to the planet to process, then for me it's going to be rarer and harder to get, in which I might use a yield module for the platinum or uranium, because the yields, unlike the basic ones, the yields are more like up around 15-20%, I think, from memory. Again, we'll have to do a little bit of experimentation to find out exactly what that is. So potentially what I might do here today is actually build speed modules, and once we get to the point where we want to process some gold to make a jump drive, I might actually swap out some of those speed modules for yield modules on the refinery. But definitely on the assembler, speed is the way to go. I have no shortage of power. On the refinery, definitely a couple of speed modules, and yeah, we'll decide later on whether we replace the other ones. So let's do that now. We'll just get rid of these before I turn off creative mode. And yeah, so let's grab some parts. So first of all, I'll go into here, and I'm going to go into production and go into here, and I'll find the speed modules, and I'm going to do 1, 2, 3 to begin with, and grab the parts. We've actually already got enough stuff, so that's good. And we'll put one speed module in there. We can weld that one up. Oh, it's good to have a better welder, that's for sure. And that will therefore increase the speed of producing the rest of the stuff. Look at how much quicker it's going. And then I'm going to grab another one, like so. Just need some more computers, which they'll be coming. Easy peasy. And then let's just see how quick this, I mean, look how quick the steel's going now. Real quick. So I think 2 is going to be adequate. I don't think I need to really put any more than 2 on. Because if I did put more than 2 on, then it's going to cause to draw more power, which we probably should have a look at actually, just make sure our power is kind of keeping up. Because they do use, these assemblers and refineries do use a lot of power, but fully depleted in 2 hours, well, we're not going to be producing stuff for that long a period. So yeah, let's just grab another one of those. So we'll grab one of them, and also I think I didn't build enough actually, so let's build some more for the remainder of the refinery. 1, 2, 3. Cool. And yeah, so I'll paste that one on, and yeah, then I'll do some other bits and pieces, and we'll just see how we're going for time. Yeah, stand by. Right, camera's back on. I think that is full. Didn't hear the sweet lady though. Strange. Right, so let me show you this, and then we're going to call it a day. First, I'm just going to throw that into there, and just you. Up. Yeah, maybe that seems like a good spot. Yeah, okay, so I've done the edit, and yeah, pretty happy with how it's all gone today. The one thing I did miss, the assemblers and refineries also do have a setting in the game settings. So that's when we first start the game, or when we go into the load game screen, we can adjust the settings, that we can set the speed of those two blocks. So we can do that at the base level. And then on top of that, we can put these yield modules or speed modules or power modules on top of it as well. So that's a setting that you can adjust depending on your difficulty. Yeah, so I put another wind turbine in. So we've got 2 and another battery as well. So that just gives us a bit of extra capacity. Yeah, it's still depleted because now we've got these processing. They do use a lot of power, that's for sure. And just putting the extra battery in when we're maybe away from here for a while, these can just sort of store all the power, and it'll be beneficial having a second one for sure. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty much it. Next time we need to do, I think, a little bit of inventory stuff. So I did consolidate my inventory into here. Which is why I just mined some more nickel, because we were starting to get a little bit low on it. We are starting to get a bit low on iron again, so that's probably something we need to deal with. We're getting a surplus of gravel, so there's already a mess of it over there. So I'm thinking next time we'll deal with some inventory management. We'll go through the sorters. Maybe we'll build a mining ship, maybe, and we can get some iron. And then maybe the episode after that we'll go up into space. So, yeah, so as I say, pretty good progress. I'm just going to finish off today by going and mining a little bit of silver, now that we can process it. And then it'll be for something that I want to build to be my first job for next episode, but we won't do that today. So yeah, I'll just head over there and dig up a few inventory loads of silver ore, and that's where we will call it. Alright, so we have a full medium coat container of silver ore, which took a little while because it looks very similar to stone, so half the time I was grabbing the wrong stuff. But anyway, moving on quickly. Yeah, so that's it for today. I think I've done enough, and yeah, pretty happy with what I covered off. Once again, don't take my complete word for anything. There's lots of other resources available on the internet. Do feel free to leave a comment down below there somewhere, or over on Discord. And once again, I do miss stuff, so it does end up quite often that people do point that out in the comments, so do have a read of them. I encourage you to do that. And thank you for everybody that does give me the feedback. But yeah, that's where I'm going to call it. So thank you everybody for joining me today. I hope you did enjoy today's episode and can join me again next time. And until next time, as always, stay safe everybody, and have a good one.